Hey everybody, welcome to Movies Worth Talking About, where we talk and talk and talk about movies. I'm John Carlos, and I'm joined, and he was waving, and I want to wave back. And I'm joined by Wavy McWaverton over there with the hand. You know,
Hi. You said my name. Nobody needs to hear it again.
yeah, that's Eddie, everybody.
That's me.
And we're here to continue talking about Kevin Smith films with it chronologically in release order. We're now at Cop Out. Look at that face you're making. Look at that.
I can't wait.
Yes, I remember when you a few years ago watched it, and
What did I say?
you ranked it at the bottom, is what you said.
Yeah, not much has changed. How about you?
um, um, if I do rank them all, I do rank it at the bottom. However, and there's a big however, which is I am a Kevin Smith fanboy, borderline apologist. So even though it's at the bottom, every time I watch it, I have a good time. I just have a better time with all the other ones.
Okay.
I'm not like a stand for Cop Out, but I will I might tonight be defending Cop Out. We'll see.
Okay. Fun.
I mean, first things first. It was the first and still only Kevin Smith film that he directed that he didn't write. And
Okay. What happened?
holy shit! Well, I mean, if I think what you're wondering is, there was a screenplay. I forgot. Sorry, I don't remember the two guys who wrote it, but they
The
had a screen.
Cullen brothers. Yeah.
Sure. And every year you hear about certain movies that are on like the blacklist, like the top 10 unproduced screenplays of that year. And
Yeah.
this was like kind of a hot script for its year. And I know that I think after, if I remember the wording correctly, people told Kevin Smith that Zack and Miri looked enough like a real movie that like he started getting offers to make studio movies. And
Oh.
like he had a meeting at Warner Brothers and the script. And
Mm-hmm.
what I mean, at least the logic Kevin Smith had was that one, he liked that the two leads, at least on paper, because I think it gets lost in filming,
Mm-hmm.
but on paper he's like, they bicker like they're a married couple. It's like, it was like Dante and Randall. Like, I can understand these two guys.
Sure.
um and he liked the idea, he said this many times, of this felt like a movie that his dad would watch on TBS in the afternoon. And
Mm-hmm.
he liked the idea of, even though it's not personal, he didn't write it. He's like, my dad would like this. I want this to be a movie that will be on TBS in a few years in the afternoon that you just sort of stop and watch. And you know, that's what
Yeah.
happened.
Okay.
Well,
Thank you.
and
Yeah.
without getting, I'm not going to do the shit. Like, it's been covered to death. It's been on multiple podcasts, and I think that the Too Fat to Fly when he was 40 special, but like, there's been plenty of talk about how filming went, how Bruce Willis was on set,
Yes, I
how
remember
Bruce
that.
Willis thought Kevin Smith was on set.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really need to go over it,
No,
but I will say that there are scenes in this movie where he is more keyed in than others.
makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Let's unveil the mystery while we can. I did not care for this movie. But that said, yeah, is it the worst movie I've ever seen? No, but and it's certainly not the best, and it's not my favorite among Kevin Smith, obviously. But I just uh, I couldn't remember at the top of it because I guess I wasn't paying attention to the credits enough. I started to write Cop Out, and I started to write written by Kevin Smith and directed by someone else. And then I think
Boop,
I either saw it in the
opposite.
credits or I looked, yeah, and I looked at my phone. I was like, oh, that's why this is, because then I started listening to the exchanges and I was like, yeah, I don't know if this feels, a large part of it feels improvised. So there's that.
Yeah.
And it kind of, for me, I think that's another part where where it starts to lose me. It starts to suffer from what I think a lot of people were accusing Judd Apatow movies as they were progressing, of just like, okay, just you need to yell cut a little bit more, or not yell cut, but in the editing room, like we don't need this to go on quite so long. Give us a line-o-rama. Give us 6 of them on the DVD. Like, we're still buying 2 disc sets and everything like that. And I think that's how I remember every now and then getting a sense of that on Zack and Miri, but then it would end, and I'd just be like, "Oh, okay." So we haven't lost the plot, but this one, there were a few moments I think where I don't even know if I lost the plot so much as I just kind of stopped caring. Does that mean?
Um, but is it a movie that you're supposed to care that much? I mean, I'm sure you're
Not even
like, give me some
not
investment, but I don't,
not like, oh, but I mean just like caring about what happens, because
like,
I did surrender at a certain point and just lay my
okay.
arms down and just go,
I mean,
the movie's just happening to me. I'm just going to give in. So
sounds kind of hot.
um,
Um, the I know you get invested in movies a little more than I do.
yeah.
Uh, but it's like, how much do you care? Like, it's such a formula that, like,
Mhm.
when we introduced Jimmy and his daughter and her upcoming wedding, like,
Mhm.
do you ever doubt for a second that, like, it's not all going to work out for her wedding? Of course it is. Like, you know,
In the
there's
way that it's supposed to. Like, if it doesn't work out, like, and he saved the wedding, it'll work out like in another way. Like, somehow
sure
everybody's going to go home happy. And yeah, I
everything's
know
gonna be,
that.
yeah. Paul and his wife, it's gonna be fine. Everything's gonna be fine. The bad guy's gonna get defeated. You know,
Yeah.
fine.
Um, well, yeah, say stuff.
No, say stuff. That should be the name of the podcast. No, I just I enjoy it. I especially see what Kevin Smith is going for. Because it
Mhm.
is a classic buddy cop formula. And there's
Mhm.
little things that I like that he did. Like, I'm always gonna get his name wrong. In fact, let me try to pull it up. Is it Harold Faltermeyer? But the guy who
Sure.
composed the score for Beverly Hills Cop and
Okay.
Fletch, Top Gun. Like, from what I understand, he was retired. And they approached him saying, "Look, we're doing an '80s throwback cop, it's a buddy cop comedy. Would you like to score it?" And he came out of retirement to fucking score it, and I think that's great.
Yeah.
And
That's nice.
it sounds like one of those movies, even though, like, maybe the soundtrack is very synth '80s. The performances are very contemporary, but still, I dig the music.
Hmm.
So there's a nice thing.
Yeah, I don't remember it.
Uh,
Also, it's just like cards on the table. Like, I didn't even write down the date. Usually I write down the date that I screen and like wrote down the notes. It's been weeks since I think we
mhm.
originally planned to do this. And I did take notes, but I'm sitting here deciphering them, just kind of looking at like 9-year anniversary. Why did I write that down?
Because they've been partners for 9 years.
Their 9-year anniversary. Okay,
Yeah,
cool. And the
and he
next
got him a
note.
little card and everything.
Right, right. Okay. And the next note I wrote was Willis already feels like he's rehearsing. I remember that. Where it's just kind of like there there's a difference between commitment, and there's a way to overcommit where you're like trying to be funny and it's like feels forced. He's not doing that. But there's also a way to just kind of like let it happen, to release it and just try and do nothing, but still remain in contact with someone, like commit enough that there's something engaging that's happening. And I don't feel like Willis at the top is like doing
Yeah,
that. Yet Tracy Morgan is fully committed
yeah.
from the
Well, yeah.
get-go.
For the whole movie.
Yeah.
I'm glad you. Okay, so let's talk about the 9 years, because I do have notes.
Okay.
I do not believe, from Bruce Willis's side,
Mhm.
that he has been in a willingly, like, friendship and cop partnership with Tracy Morgan.
Mm,
I do believe Tracy Morgan has loved hanging out with this dude for 9 years.
yeah.
And it's really weird to see one guy, because usually performances, it's, listening and responding, and it's a, a ping pong game. It's tossing the ball back and forth. And it
Yes.
really is Tracy Morgan, like, tossing the ball and he's not getting it back, but like he's still tossing it. And
Yeah.
I believe the toss.
Yeah.
And it's weird to see, like, the other half. There's these little moments where Bruce Willis kind of clicks in but then clicks out again.
Uh-huh.
And but yeah, I it's also, not only do I not believe they've been partners for 9 years and friends for 9 years, but, like, here's my big like, it's kind of a feature, not a bug. Like, I do not believe for an instant that Tracy Morgan would ever be like, this character of Paul could ever be a cop. but then
That,
but
yeah.
sometimes the fun of it is just the absurdity of this guy, talking about, I break records with my shit turds,
Right, right,
like,
right, 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 right. Well, because
is a
it's the
cop.
thing is also just like everything that you're saying in terms of like, what we believe and what we don't. Like I share that with you, and I got a sense of that like pretty much right away. And I think that's why the first time I watched it and this most recent time, I just kind of went like, oh no. And because even if it's lopsided, it's like I think I used to be more patient with movies like that, and I used to kind of like just maybe put my thumb over half the screen and look at the side of the screen that I like. I'm too old to do that now. I'm too tired. So I just kind of, it's better to just surrender and just let it
But
happen and just
well,
try and pick out the thing, like not even pick up, but let the things come to me that I enjoy. And it happened kind of right on the heels of like this introduction to them when there's this interrogation going on. And I wrote down 3 titles and I know exactly what they're alluding to. I wrote Training Day, Color Purple, and Beetlejuice.
the
Because
Beetlejuice
yes,
is the turning point for me.
yes. And it's the point. I think Color Purple was for me though, because like anytime anybody quotes Color Purple in anything, like I'm just kind of like, oh, I know those lines, but but so Tracy, but that's the point where like already off the bat, I'm just kind of like, okay, I don't really buy, Tracy Morgan as like a cop, like doing this,
No.
but at least I'm laughing. At least I'm entertained by something. But then
And
immediately, yeah, go for it.
in fact, it made me just now realize that, like, I mean, in all honesty, I don't really believe Jim Carrey as a fucking detective, like
No,
in Ace
yeah,
Ventura. Pet
yeah.
detective, let alone can like just stroll into the police department and talk to, like, I don't believe any of it.
Hmm.
But that movie's tone focused around one comedic, the world makes me believe it. I think, and I hate to say this, the problem is Bruce Willis plays it so straight that it really grounds the world as actual cops. And then Tracy Morgan, like, there's a difference between being like kind of the deadpan straight man and like
Hmm.
kind of not even playing it for laughs.
Not even playing it.
So
Like
like
play is
it
extricated
makes
out.
it makes Tracy Morgan stand out in this world when
Yeah,
Bruce Willis is like anchoring it too much in reality.
I
But
think
when I
that's
say he
generous.
stand, that's what I'm here to do, everybody.
I know.
I got my shield and my sword ready for fucking Eddie, and I'm gonna just back the dragon off.
That's me.
Because yeah, you're a dragon. Because I do think Tracy Morgan is really fucking funny in this movie.
Yeah.
And I almost wish that we had, not instead of this, but another, just like a Tracy Morgan vehicle that Kevin Smith got to direct.
Hmm.
Because some of my favorite moments of this movie, like you said, they don't feel scripted, they feel a little Judd Apatow. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I know Tracy Morgan, this is not on the page.
Yes. Yes.
This is all Tracy Morgan, and I want a whole movie of it.
Sure. Yeah, that would have been great.
And we'll get to it
Um,
later. We'll get to it. I'm getting ahead of myself. But there's a moment between Tracy Morgan and Sean William Scott where I'm like, I want a movie with you two.
I know. I know. Um, we'll get to that when we get to it. But this moment that I just described, I immediately wrote,
Interrogation scene.
yeah, I immediately wrote like because it turns into something else. And it made me just as a precedent, like it's funny to sometimes see a movie because this movie is not even 15 years old at the time of this session that you and I are recording this pod. And um it's funny to see comedies. There's my cat. She's just letting everybody know that she's alone. She's gonna do that for a while. Anyway,
Okay.
she's the loneliest cat in the world. She's like 10 feet away from me. Anyway,
Not good enough,
drama
Eddie.
queen. She's a drama queen. She's a drama queen. Okay, so uh comedy could have been released like 30, 40 years ago, and you put it on today, and maybe something here and there like doesn't really work, doesn't really age well, but for the most part, it's it works. It still can be watched and enjoyed with just maybe like a few bumps in the road. The first bump for me was, and again, it's a good thing to experience it as a bump from my perspective now, because I didn't really think it was funny before, but I don't think I really gave it much thought. I just wrote a room full of cops laughing while one of their own freaks out a brown man in the interrogation room has kind of lost its charm. All
I
of a
mean,
sudden, the carefree kind of, oh, it's a relaxed precinct goes away. I couldn't relax with them.
I mean, it still felt kind of unrealistic and mean, just that they were all in there laughing. I didn't think about the further context because there's a lot in this movie that it's like it's so fucking well delivered,
Yeah.
but I immediately had such a bad response to it. But when Sean William Scott's like, "Hey, this is police brutality," Bruce Willis is like, "Not yet," and I was
Right.
like,
Yeah.
I remember that line being funny when I saw it. I remember my brain registered this is a funny delivery, but now I was like, record scratch, what? Because,
Yeah.
in the last few years, we've become much more aware of
Yeah.
a lot.
Harsh realities. But that's the
Yes.
thing is also it helps. See, this is why I need you, because it helps contextualize why this happened. Because if Kevin Smith is motivated to make a film that his father would have enjoyed, like, in an afternoon, then it makes sense, because this is exactly the kind of movie that was being made when his father was probably coming home, sitting down in the afternoon, like watching a movie and everything like that. And I don't know, there was just, you could make this kind of a cop comedy earlier and not worry about it ever,
Oh, yeah. But
feeling
now,
out of date, or or problematic. I hate that word, but for lack of a better term, like, I think people gave a lot less thought to it. I think people thought like comedies are comedies and dramas are dramas. If you tell me I'm supposed to laugh, then I'll probably laugh if it's
right.
funny enough.
It's interesting because it's I don't want to say it's like a pro cop movie, but your heroes are cops. And I've always found it
Yeah.
interesting that, like, I heard this a long time ago, like maybe a good 15, 20 years ago, that like the three jobs that like people, I don't know who surveyed it or where the data came from, but like the three most despised jobs that your average person does not like the people who do it are cops, doctors, and lawyers. And they're like, and what's
Wow.
funny is, what are the three shows and movies that get made the most of? Cop
Yeah.
shows, lawyer shows, hospital shows.
Yeah, 100%.
And there's so many things that are like, for example, in this, your heroes are cops. We're rooting for them. We're in theory on their side, having a good time. But a lot of
Yeah.
what they do in this movie, had it been done in real life and not in a comedy, you would not be rooting for them.
Not at all. Oh my God. I mean,
Like,
go
like
ahead.
it's a hilarious beat. But Jimmy's gonna go in to have dinner, and he doesn't want his ex-wife and daughter to know that he got suspended today.
Yes.
So Paul opens up the glove box with a bunch of badges and a bunch of guns. He goes, "Here, take one of these." And he goes,
Mm-hmm.
"It's a lot of badges you got in there." He's like, "I lose them a lot." Fucking hilarious. His delivery is great, and it's like, and cut, next scene. It's so good.
Yes, yes.
If you told me there was a cop that just had a bunch of guns in his personal car glove box because he loses his badges and guns a lot, that's fucking awful.
Mm-hmm.
Awful in real life, funny for our lead characters in this movie.
Yeah. And again, if you put it in a dramatic context, I'm thinking, like, again, it's not as far back as like 70s or 80s or anything like that. But I mean, 90s, we're still making cops movies where we're following,
Oh, yeah.
cops on the edge, like
Cops on the edge.
yeah.
Fucking, yeah, Riggs and Murtaugh, like one of them is clinical and needs help. And
Yeah.
and they're always, just firing and going off the handle in public. Not forget,
Mm-hmm.
all the cliche of like the public the public property damage. But but yeah, and I lost my train of thought. But yeah.
Then I'll finish my point. So the point is that towards the end of the 90s, you get like a movie like Magnolia, where one of John C. Reilly's crucial key moments, like turning points of conflict, like for him, is the fact that he loses his gun while he is in hot pursuit of a perp. I don't know, is that the word? Anyway, and he, to the point where he's like crying. Am I misremembering? He's in the rain with a flashlight looking for
Yeah.
it, and like this brush and mud and everything like that, and he just can't find it, and he lost his gun, and it ends up becoming like this huge point of admission for him
Yeah, it's
with
a big
his
monologue about it
interaction
later.
with another character and everything like that, and it becomes one of the most memorable things about an already pretty memorable movie for me. But in a dramatic context, see, cop loses gun, not funny, shameful, but also like, oh, let's find the what goes with that humiliation and ridicule from his peers and a sense of shame that he carries and an ability to connect with someone who also feels ridiculed and humiliated and shame and just make them feel more seen in the world. And you put it in a dramatic context, all of a sudden it's, like
Yeah.
this incredible self. But
I remember,
that's not this movie.
yeah, and I remember what I was going to say was tied to all that, which is
Go for it.
also this movie and also lots of movies in the 90s. Hell, even, James Bond movies. You have all these stories where I'm an agent or I'm a cop. That's it. You're off the case. You're suspended. And what do? They keep pursuing because it's the fucking right thing to do, even though in reality, you're supposed to be suspended usually for a reason. There's usually a
Yeah.
logic behind it, especially when things happen a lot where like it was my wife or it was my kid that was kidnapped. And it's like, yeah, they take you off the case because you
Hmm.
are too close. And
Yeah.
psychologically, it's not right. You can't have the right kind of judgment. That's why they take you off.
Yeah.
And we always in the movies though root for them to be like, no, but it's my fucking wife, so I'm going after them. And they're our heroes. And fuck the system. You do what's right as a man, as a
Hmm.
husband, and not as an officer. And that definitely was a thing in the 90s, and that's still here. It's
Oh
all playful,
yeah.
but it's like here. I mean, this is the biggest part of the formula. This happened all the time in a million cop movies, 80s and 90s. There's an opening sequence where things go awry.
Hmm.
You get you get hauled into the chief's office.
Yeah.
Boy, do you hear it.
And
And
he's full
then,
of piss and vinegar. He's
yeah,
he's haggard. He's probably drinking. He's got his hands on his hips and his jacket off, and he's just wiping his
yep.
face
And
out of
then,
frustration because of
and
you.
he's mad at the property damage. And you know what? You're off the
Yep.
case or you're suspended
Yeah.
for like, and I forgot, and I've seen this movie several times.
Yeah.
Saw in theaters once, got on Blu-ray and watched it with my parents once,
Yeah.
showed it to Tracy, and then I watched it these two times. So about five times at least.
Hmm.
It wasn't until my fourth, because I watched it twice before this.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh wait, yeah, they're not fucking cops for this whole movie. Like the first
Hmm.
10 minutes, you're off. The whole movie is, I don't want to
Yeah.
say an illegal investigation, but you're not supposed to be pursuing.
Yeah.
It's
So,
interesting. They're not cops. Like they are,
and
but they're suspended.
yeah, if I read the headline, I'd be horrified. I'd be like, "Oh my God, two cops like fucked up, and then they were told they were off the case. Then they just went on like pursuing
And
it
on and
anyway. Oh
on.
my
Yeah.
God, drunk with power, terrified. I'm never leaving my house." And then, but on the other side of it, I get not to be an apologist, but I do think that like also, quite frankly, this type of Saturday or Sunday afternoon film is not the one that I would have stopped the channel surfing, to watch. I actually would have just sailed right past it, and if I found Mommy Dearest or whatever happened to Baby Jane, I probably would have leaned in that direction. In fact, I
Yeah.
know every time they were on, that's how I watched them over and I had them committed to memory before I ever owned them on DVD or Blu-ray or never had a VHS of either of them. So I just watched them all the time. That was what attracted my eye. So I think I'm also just like not this movie's like target demographic. So there's a little,
Yeah, and
leeway
me
there.
neither. That's one of my. I was not always the biggest buddy cop. I mean, I remember I saw Rush Hour in theaters. I'm like, this is fucking
Mm,
funny. But
yeah,
I didn't become someone who appreciated the Lethal Weapon, at least one and two, until just a few years ago.
sure.
And I love Dick Donner, but those were not my
Yeah.
jam. And all of a sudden,
Mm,
I'm like, Lethal Weapon one and two are pretty fucking good. It just took me
mm.
getting a lot older to appreciate them. But yeah, 20, 30 years ago, Die Hard, Beverly Hills Cop, Lethal Weapon, none of that was my shit.
Yeah, yeah. I some of them I still haven't even watched, and maybe I will someday. But I mean, oh God, there's so many movies to watch. But I mean, even in the way of like action films, like there always has to be like an extra, like make it a little weird. Like I'm more
Oh,
prone, I'm to gravitate toward an action film if it's not kind of your standard Hollywood blockbuster, man swings in on a rope, or cops gone bad, or like whatever.
oh
Or
yeah.
not even cops gone bad, but cops, rogue cop, cops gone rogue. That's what I'm looking for. I'm not gonna like turn again. I'm not gonna stop turning the channel to stay on that. But if it's like action sci-fi, action fantasy, even
Yes.
action adventure, like in Indiana Jones or something like that, I know that's you share that. More along those lines. I need like
Yeah.
an extra something.
Same.
Yeah. I
Again,
yeah,
this is the other one where like all through as a childhood, my friends like loved the Rambo movies, and like
right.
I did not fuck with 80s action movies and a lot of 90s for a while, and it
Yeah.
always had to have something else. Like I remember like I would always give the example like The Matrix. Like it's an American film, but it's got like wire fu, it's got Yen Wu Ping doing choreography, it's got thematically something
Mhm.
else going on. Like there's got to be an extra something. And then that's
Yeah.
also something that just came with me over time, where now I fuck with Rambo and I've gone back and watched a lot of, and I've found a lot of value in like the fact that they don't have another angle. It's just look at this guy and his muscles. He's gonna beat the shit out of some people. Like I'm like, oh okay.
And you
I
think I'd be into it, but
I admire I admire that simplicity. So I've really grown fond of 80s action movies in my later years. But
yeah.
anyway, going back to the interrogation, I remember I'm watching
Yeah.
them, and I presume if you're watching this, you've seen the movie already. But they're doing the quote where he's interrogating this guy and he's yelling random lines from like cop movies, but then he starts just doing random lines, and I'm like, okay, ha ha
Yeah.
ha. But this, and I'm like, I see what you're doing. I'm not laughing yet. I'm amused and I see what you're doing. And then they just cut to Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. And I
Yes.
fucking lose it. And then for no reason whatsoever, he's got glasses and a pen in his mouth, and he does fucking, you're gonna need a bigger boat.
Right, right.
The glasses just appear for that one line, and then they're gone again. And I'm like, I fucking love it.
Yeah, and it feels number one, very Tracy Morgan, number two, very Kevin Smith.
Yes,
And I'm just kind of like, okay, more of this, please. More of
more of
this.
this. I have, and again, a little note. I hate to talk smack on my guy, but it's gonna happen a little bit. The
Okay.
one thing that kind of gets me is we know the lines. They should have presumed we know the lines. I hate every time they cut back to Bruce Willis saying the title. I'm like, I don't fucking need Bruce Willis to
Yeah.
say, oh, the color purple. Oh, this. I go, yeah, I know. The only reason it works is because by setting that up, when he goes, "Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker!" I've never seen that movie.
Yeah.
Kills. Got to laugh in theaters. I was watching with Tracy, and she went pa at
No,
that moment.
I did not.
Well, that sucks for you, man. Because I fuck with Die Hard really fucking hard.
I know you do. Good for you. I did
Good
wonder,
for you.
like after that, like before they got their like 30-day suspension from Jack, I did write, where was this shot? And I looked it up, and it was all shot on the East Coast. It was all Brooklyn and Queens and other little pockets of New York. And I was actually kind of shocked because at times, I don't know, I wondered, like, was this the beginning of Canada for Kevin Smith? And no, it was not. It was actually like practical New York. I guess they just found
Yeah.
some spacier places sometimes. I mean, sometimes you can tell, like you can see the bridge and
Yeah.
the subway and everything like that. But
Yeah. I love the opening shot tracking away from Manhattan. Like it's
mhm. I think just maybe like the residential areas in Brooklyn and Queens are probably not the first thing that like I think of when I think of that area.
yeah.
But
And
because like the house where they all end up in the climax and everything like that, I was like, is that the East Coast? I don't know if that looks like the East Coast. And then I'm like, oh, and I'm just wrong. So I can admit that.
yeah, no. It's and in fact, I'm glad you're bringing that up, because one of the little things I loved about, like when I was sitting in the theater,
Yeah.
there's certain things with Kevin Smith that like are just little nuggets, little benchmarks, little sprinkles that you're going to get recurringly. You're going to maybe get a reference to hockey, a reference to Star Wars, and hopefully maybe a little Run DMC. So the fact that it opened with uh well just no, it opens with No Sleep Till Brooklyn. When does Run DMC happen?
Uh,
Is Run DMC in?
you're asking the wrong guy.
But
Here, I
anyway,
can look it up. Soundtrack.
is it?
Run DMC. Keep talking, I'll look.
No, I'm trying to remember. Do they play? Does it open with No Sleep Till Brooklyn, Beastie Boys, but then it plays Run DMC after the interrogation?
It
Or
says
does
No
it?
Sleep Till Brooklyn, Beastie Boys right at the top. So, and these usually go chronologically. Then I've
Right.
got Knight Rider, Stu Phillips.
Yeah.
Every Rose Has Its Thorn, Poison.
Yeah. No.
Follow the Leader, Eric B. and Rakim. Dance Hall Days, Wang Chung. King of Rock, Run DMC.
There it is. Okay, so I'm not wrong. I'm confusing two things. Run DMC is in the movie, and that is a benchmark. Yay! But also, it's neat that it opens with No Sleep Till Brooklyn, as
Right.
we are telling a Brooklyn-based story.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So I appreciated that, because also I just like hearing Beastie Boys. But when the joy I felt when I heard Run DMC pop up, I'm like, there it is. Because yeah, I don't. There's no hockey in this movie, and
Not that I can
I don't
remember.
recall any
No.
Star Wars in this movie. So at least we got the Run DMC,
Hmm. There's
and
no Star Wars?
I can't recall a Star Wars gag.
I mean,
Can
neither can I,
you?
but I can't recall a lot of things. I'll look in my
There's
notes.
there's a lot of other things that are random that I like, but also
Yes.
just running down through the list. We have a Jason Lee appearance.
Yes.
The guy who's partners with Sean William Scott is Ernie O'Donnell, who plays Rick Darris.
Yes. Yeah, I
Um,
recognize him. Yeah.
we have I this is so Tracy Morgan was in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, so it's nice to have him in this again.
Mm-hmm.
We had I think this is the first time that oh fuck it, Fred Armisen starts to
Yes.
show up, but this was like the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Pollak shows up again. Adam
Mm-hmm.
Brody shows
Adam
up again.
Brody.
This is like
Yeah.
this is so we still have our some of our regulars, but we also this is the starting point for a lot of others,
Mm-hmm.
and that just makes me happy.
Yeah, Kevin Pollak and Adam Brody showed up, and I know we're not supposed to like them, but I like them
Mm,
both so much. And that's the other thing, is that they were so good. They were both so damn good in their roles, and they met each other halfway. I was just gonna like, oh,
yeah,
I kind of wish we could straddle both. I still want to see Tracy Morgan for sure,
right.
and I'm like, I know Bruce Willis is gonna be fine at some point, so like I'll keep watching that, but. I felt like they introduced them as these like potential rivals who were either going to get like the ultimate comeuppance, or who were gonna, and I felt like they kind of fell by the wayside, and then I think maybe reappeared at the end. If I'm remembering correctly, I don't even know
No, they
like
show up a
how.
few times in the middle
Okay, but not in a way
because
that satisfied me, I
once
suppose.
Jimmy and Paul are off the case,
Yeah,
they're on the case,
right. And they go to
and
the bodega or what, or is it a bodega? I think
well, they have a
the
scene in their
baseball,
office. Then
the
they
baseball card, the pawn shop,
yes,
I
well,
guess.
yeah, that's the embarrassing thing is that Jimmy, the police that are called, are those two fucks, so they have to like question Jimmy and
And I was looking forward to it. I was like, oh, this is gonna be
sir,
good.
sir, you've been the victim of. Are you okay? Like all that shit. No, but yeah, they go to
And
the
it was
beach. They find they have a pair, and at one point, they think, I forget. It's because they find the gun at the crime scene. And I think that was Paul's gun that they think
right.
Paul might be crooked. So they reach out to Jimmy and have him try to like
Okay.
narc on his buddy. So they
Right.
weave throughout the story. I just feel like maybe you wish they weaved more because it feels like you only had them for two scenes, but they're in it a bunch of
Okay.
times.
Okay. Well, I wrote phone gag.
Back
What was that?
Oh, they come into the office to bust them, like
Right.
haha, bust their chops because they got suspended. And like I forget who instigates it, but Bruce is like, wait, hold on, and like calls,
Okay.
and then Jimmy picks up, and then they start talking shit on.
Right. I liked that.
Yeah,
That was fun. Yeah.
yeah. No, there's and Bruce is really having fun in that scene.
Yes. Agreed.
Yeah.
What more can I say? You were gonna say something else. What were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say because there's a lot of just like little moments that, God, no, that's the thing about this movie is there's these little one-off beats that
Uh-huh.
really kill me. There's a scene later when they found the gun at the crime scene. It's in a bag, and Kevin Pollak's like opening this file and going that, and then Adam Brody goes, "Great, and look, we found this," and he just drops it on the table.
Hmm.
Kevin Pollak's like, "That's a gun," and I was like, "Bah, you just threw that on the table," and he goes, "It's in a bag," and he just keeps talking, and I love that sort of like massive generation gap. That's a gun. It's in a bag. Anyway, blah 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 blah.
Right.
That doesn't work if they're the same age. Like it really needs to
Yeah.
be a young guy being dismissive.
Yes.
Um,
That's funny.
yeah, I love the two of them. I fucking their whole. There's something so random about it that just like sometimes other 80s movies had this really random shit where
Mhm.
they're at the crime scene and there's all the dead gangbangers and you could tell they're from Cuba or whatever because of their boots. How do you know that? And Kevin Pollak shows him his fancy like alligator leopard whatever the fuck boots. And Adam Brody's like, I want to get me a pair of those.
Oh,
He's
God.
like, hey, these boots would wear you. And I was
Right.
like, oh. So then later, after he's gotten the boots, at the end of the movie, Kevin Pollak tells him, like, hey, those boots, they look really good on you. And they push in on this really like proud Adam Brody kind of moment.
Yes. Yeah, I remember that.
And one, I love all that kind of shit, more of that kind of shit. And also in that moment, I'm like, oh, it's such a Judge Reinhold kind of moment. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I wish there's another thing I wish it was like Adam Brody as Judge Reinhold with Tracy Morgan. Like that's a fucking movie.
Oh my God.
That's yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
All
see, you keep reinventing the film and making it better, and I'm just pissed because you're right.
but yeah, no, him and Kevin Pollak, I would never think to pair the two of them.
No, and it worked
It
beautifully.
really works.
Yeah. Well,
And
okay.
and
Yeah,
that
go ahead, go
I
ahead,
can't help but wonder because you were asking what happened. I forgot to mention the other thing that happened was
go
that
ahead. Uh-oh.
no, it's not a bad thing, but I just can't help thinking about that. Like when this script existed, it was then when it came to Kevin Smith, Mark Wahlberg and Will Smith were already attached to it.
Oh my God.
And then almost immediately they're like, we're gonna go actually, and Will Ferrell's like, I'm gonna write my like I got my own, like I'm attached to this, but I want, and then he ended up writing with Adam McKay. They did The Other Guys,
Okay.
which I think
Yeah.
either came out the same year or a year later.
Mm,
But I found
right.
that interesting that that essentially happened to Kevin Smith twice, where like his stars left to go do the exact same fucking movie with someone else. Although
Hmm.
The Other Guys has a whole different agenda. If you haven't seen that movie, the whole third act is
Mm,
very
okay.
fucking political, which they didn't market that movie as at all. Um,
Hmm.
but Kevin Smith for a while was working on Hit Somebody because he got along so well with Sean William Scott between Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back and this.
Hmm.
And he'd been developing Hit Somebody, but originally as a movie, and then as like a two-part movie, and then as a mini series, and it kept evolving. But it was a drama about a goon player for a hockey team,
Oh,
and it was going to star Sean William Scott. And then eventually, he starred in the movie Goon, about a goon hockey player, directed by Jay Baruchel. And I'm like, man, Kevin
no,
Smith can't catch a break.
no.
I don't know how much he wanted Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg, but they were attached to it. But I mean, almost immediately, it was like, well, now we have to go find our leads because they'd left.
Oh, so it was Will Ferrell? Because I thought maybe I misheard you, but I thought you said Will Smith before.
Oh, I must have misspoke. It was Will Ferrell and Mark
Or I
Wahlberg.
misheard. Maybe I misheard. That's
Will
possible
Ferrell,
too.
Mark Wahlberg, and then the two of them
Okay.
left, and they made The Other Guys instead.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I
And
haven't seen
and
that one.
and that movie also had like The Rock and Sam Jackson as the other guys in the office who were busting their balls, and
Shit, now I have to see that
yeah,
movie. Okay.
it's
Uh,
it's interesting, Eddie.
okay. As long as I probably won't like it if you're saying that, but
No, it's just it is so much more than just the formula. It's so
Oh,
much more.
okay. We'll see. I'll watch it and I'll get back to you.
Yeah, get
But
back to me.
with this one, one thing that I here we're talking about like how Adam Brody and Kevin Pollak work. One thing that it's not that it didn't work for me. It's just like it was another thing that just made me kind of go like this is the shit I don't like about like watching these movies. And it's not. I really like Michelle Trachtenberg. You know,
Hmm.
I'm a huge Buffy fan, and she's growing into quite a lovely lady, grown into quite a lovely lady. But she's I know what she's capable of, and so I'm watching her play the girl, the daughter. You're like the one who's going to wander and go like, "Daddy, I'd really like this." Oh, it's okay. I don't need that. And he wants to give her the world and call her princess or pumpkin or angel or something like that. And she just kind of wanders off, and he wants to give her her happy ending. That's not my bag. That makes me lean back as opposed to forward. And because also there was a part I know, yes, Jason Lee is playing Roy, and he's supposed to be a jerk who we don't like. And I thought he was a jerk. I also thought he looked hotter than I've ever seen him look before, but there's that. But him kind of like sauntering in and like being like, well, I could take care of all. I don't know, maybe he says these, I don't know the Roman lines, but he's just like, it gets kind of throwing his weight, like, well, I could take care of the whole thing, buddy boy. Like that's whole the smarmy kind of like way he's laying it on, I think, and then what we're supposed to feel about him. When there's another part of me that's just kind of like, well, why does it have to be either or? Why can't you two kind of like, combine your efforts and, share it instead of making it about this macho shithead rivalry
Yes,
about
yes.
this guy who
Combine
actually
combine your efforts. Sorry.
fuck us. But but I mean, I don't know. I again, like maybe it's just like the stupid like peacekeeper in me or something like that. But also just thinking like, okay, your daughter, granted, she's a full-grown woman, she's going to enter into a marriage and everything like that, but she can still experience toxicity between her parental units, like these people who play these roles. And the sooner you can keep the peace, the less it's going to fuck her up And the easier it's going to be for her to not make these same mistakes if she goes down the same road with this guy she's marrying. You know what
What
I
you're
mean?
saying is correct.
I know.
Neither of those two characters would ever think that.
I know. And I hate, that's why I don't like it. I'm like,
Bullshit,
guys.
bullshit, straight dude, male bravado, ego, machismo bullshit.
That's why I don't like it.
And Bruce Willis plays it beautifully.
Yeah.
Believably.
I
I totally believe him as that dad.
I do too.
Especially when he like asks his ex-wife and his daughter, like, go to the bar, get me a drink. We're just gonna talk. No, and she's like, oh god. He's like, no, just go. And I'm like, oh my god, all this bullshit. He's so and you can tell, and especially I think having been a father, like I think he really wanted to sink his teeth into that scene. I could tell, like, oh, I know this fucking guy.
Ashton Kutcher. See, that's the thing. I thought they were friends, but okay. Like,
but I'm just saying maybe like other men who've like dated his daughter and or other people in his life. Yeah, but yes, I don't know how much I want to accuse the Ashton Kutcher of it, but maybe it took some work for them to become friends.
Maybe.
Or maybe underneath it all.
Right.
It all.
Still some stuff that needs to be processed and everything like that. Or maybe he's just
he gets to play what he never got to play in real life, which was, this sort of
and maybe it's just as simple as Bruce Willis has been in the game for a long time. He knows what people are expecting from a movie that has his name over the title and that kind of thing. Yeah. So they're gonna want to see him. No, man, I understand. You've got this. You're gonna find a way to do it for your daughter. And I'm just gonna like, all right, sure, whatever. Maybe I'd feel different if I had kids. I don't know what it's like. If I had to share custody of my cat, I probably wouldn't want anybody else like feeding her or anything like that, paying for her food. How dare you? I got this. I'm her cat daddy. But I was stunned to see that the wedding was only $48,020.
And in New York.
I mean, and this is again not even 15 years ago. And I just thought, wow, that's a really cheap wedding. Like, get it together, guys. Come on. But I mean, like that's like her dress and maybe the invitations. Yeah.
No, but that kind of cop dad that he is, like, Bruce Willis would never. It's too much of an insult to not have the birth father of the bride not be able to pay for it. Like,
right, the mere presence of the douchey stepdad prompts Jimmy to mark his territory. Oh, yeah. I bought it too. I just wasn't entirely in support of it, but I did go, oh no. I know what's coming, so that's something. So
it does enough to drive the entire rest of the movie of like, I need the card, I need to sell the card because my daughter, like, it's not just two assholes out of the blue going, well, we're off the force, we have to pursue the case. It's like, no, we have to pursue because my daughter, like and Paul, I guess, loves Jimmy enough to be like, yeah, man, like, we're doing this.
Right. Was he talking about Roy? I just wrote down Jimmy and I wrote down a lot of ha 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 ha's. So I must have laughed out loud at this moment. Is he looking at me right now? Fuck him. Is he talking about Roy? Do you remember?
He must be. I don't remember that.
Okay.
Moment. I just laughed at how your delivery was.
I tried to deliver it as flat as possible, but I did. Okay, whatever it is, I did laugh at it. You have anything else about this particular point, or?
No,
move on.
We can move on.
I think I caught up with it later. I don't even remember exactly what it is that I missed, but I just wrote, what did I miss when Tracy Morgan walks in on sleeping Rashida Jones? Oh, champagne. I guess I didn't know what was happening, and then
the implication being that if I wasn't home last night, who were you drinking with?
Right.
Because champagne must only be consumed if you're gonna fuck another dude. Two people drinking must lead to.
Yeah, okay.
And that's the other thing. Okay, so if that's where we're at, that's the other thing that, like, I find him funny. I do not believe. It's not that I'm not saying that I don't believe he and Rashida Jones would. Like, I'm not talking about like looks or anything.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about how, like, he's such a silly child of a man. It stretches credulity. I understand when, like, a woman can find a man who's a little silly, charming, make me laugh.
Mm-hmm.
He is almost like an incompetent human being.
Yeah.
And I don't believe she would endure that much distrust and that much like lack of confidence in himself and their relationship.
Yeah.
But she does a good job being like the, of course, sweet. Like even at the end of the movie when they're together, like she just forgives so much. And it's a movie and it's a
Yeah.
comedy. But
Yeah.
again, there's aspects of this that feel so grounded that it yanks me out that she would forgive so much of this.
Yeah. And I don't
Having
maybe
said that, I
yeah.
laugh a lot.
Yeah, me too. There's a particular point we'll get to that I'll point out that I really beyond laughing, like I really liked. But as far as the casting of it all, like yeah, there maybe it's just seeing Rashida Jones in Parks and Rec and how easy it was for her to outgrow Chris Pratt's character and everything like that.
Uh-huh.
Like she is too smart and too I don't know, just kind of poised. It's not like she can't be silly, but her kind of silly is different than like, whoa, kind
Yeah.
of. And I feel like you need someone who you believe could kind of like tilt their head and look at Tracy Morgan and go like, he's so cute, like. And
Yeah.
I think of two examples. One is in it's not an action movie, but it is a Schwarzenegger movie. But in Twins, Chloe Webb with Danny DeVito, I don't
Oh
have a
yeah.
problem believing that she's totally into him. And another one, to bring it back to Kevin Smith, Shannon Elizabeth and Jay Muse.
Mm-hmm.
He's just so innocent. And everybody else is like
Yeah.
looking at her like, are you out of your mind while he's humping? I
Yeah.
think he's humping the plate glass or whatever.
He's humping the window. Yeah.
Yeah. And she's just kind of going, oh my gosh, that's so cute. And I buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't quite get there with this couple. So I thought actually, oh, they might not last. I literally thought, oh, that's why they cast her. Because either she's not cheating and she's going to get angry that he accuses her and she's going to be out and then he's going to have to deal with his own shit. And then maybe he can have like Bruce Willis put his arm around him and they walk off in the sunset
Well, I
together
mean,
and things are going to be okay,
it's just the kind of movie where if you put a nanny cam into your wife's bedroom or your bedroom and
Yeah.
she finds it, she does a little prank and then she goes, "You put a nanny cam in?" As opposed to like,
Yes.
you fucking didn't like. There's a version of that that's way more.
Yeah.
You don't get off as scot-free, but it's a lighthearted sort of
Yeah.
he. But also, just side note, I love that when he gets the nanny cam, they don't show him going to a store. It's already in the house. It's like in a closet. Like,
Yes.
has he already been planning for it? How does she not see it? I don't know. It just makes me laugh. Makes me laugh.
Yeah. And that's actually the moment, like her discovery of it, but like her discovery of it before he's discovered that she's discovered it, and her fake out of him. That was one of the
Oh
points
yeah.
where I was like, ka-ching! Oh, that
Yeah.
was good. Because I was losing my mind too when because
Hey, that's her gay cousin.
Yeah.
That's her gay cousin.
Yes.
That's her gay cousin.
Yeah. All of that. I was like, oh, this, okay, I like this.
Yeah.
Give me more of this. And then I got more of it when Tracy has to watch it. And I was like, oh my God. And I was really tense. I think I was chewing my fingers, like watching that scene. So that worked. I liked that. I don't know if he gives her, if he says this line to her, or if he says it in the next scene. I just wrote, and I don't even know, it sounds like a Tracy Morgan line, but I don't know. He says, "You got me open like a research monkey, right?
Yeah.
You got me open like a research monkey, right?" I just wrote, I don't know what that means either.
There's a lot in this. Yeah, but I love it because I don't understand it.
You got me open like a research monkey. Like you can
Yeah.
see everything.
Yeah, like
because,
they've
when you
got
dissect
you.
me.
Yeah.
So everything, there's no.
Think of like a frog in science class. Like,
yeah, there's no game. There's just, it's
Yeah.
just like, okay, it's so.
Yeah, but you
Right.
got me. Yeah, there's a. I
Think
forget what
about
she says. I forget what she says about. Well, you know why I like you? He's like, well, because of whatever, and because I'm orally fixated.
Right.
And I'm like, is that it? It could be. But I love that little grin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's so he's so special.
Well, can I tell you the one that where my number one that makes no sense, but I love it?
Go for it.
I'll talk about I don't want to quote the whole scene, but just fuck, they're talking about at the time just the shit bandit taking the shit in the house he's robbing. And he's talking about how like he would never shit somewhere that he saves it till he gets home.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So he gets home, and then there she blows, and then he just goes off on this tangent this fucking tangent of first of all, he's like, well, first of all, I love that he drops it's a blink and you'll miss it line, but he talks about, oh, the big brown shark's gonna come. And I'm like,
Yeah.
did you just quote Eddie Murphy in the middle of this movie? Well done, because I love the big brown shark monologue. And then a big brown shark came. Swimming down to water to see where the bubbles come from. Love it. But then he talks, yeah, my shit turds, I break records with my shit turds. I move my bowels all over my toilet. All over this bathroom, I move my bowels. I have rewound that and I move my bowels all over my toilet. All over my bathroom, I move these bowels. Like, so proud. Just going off. None of this is in the script, Eddie. You know none of this is in the script.
No, it couldn't be. Nobody's going to write that down.
I break records with my shit turds.
Yes. Yeah.
But then after all that, he caps it off with, sometimes I shit so loud that my neighbors come out like warriors, come out to play, yay. And I'm like, I understand the reference. The reference has nothing to do with what you're talking about.
Yes.
I don't know if you've seen the Warriors, yes. But that fucker from The Crow, I don't remember his fucking name. I feel bad because I like him and stuff. But he can see the Warriors.
Yeah, yeah.
So he's just clanking and staring right at him. Come out to play. He's already like, no neighbor would come out because the scene in the Warriors isn't I heard a noise. Warrior, like, you can that makes about as much like as any you can any line from any movie. Oh man, I shit so loud that neighbors come out and say, I'll get you my pretty and your little dog too. Like, it's
that's very Tracy Morgan though. That's what
I'm saying, Eddie.
Yes. Yes.
Some of the best shit is just Tracy Morgan making it up, and I love that it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
My brain registers there's a quote and why, and it doesn't just fucking silly, absurd shit. In fact, I think it's funnier that it doesn't make a lick of goddamn sense. Because he's already calling things shit turds and moving bowels all over, like everything he's saying. And this guy's a cop, Eddie. He has a badge and he upholds the law.
One of our boys in blue, yes.
But the fact that he quoted it just kills me. It's just great.
Yeah. And then I wrote baseball cards taken care of. I like that, but it's too early in the movie for that to be the solution, of course. And then I just wrote Sean William Scott, Dave, 28 minutes in. And then I just wrote Costner and De Niro being insufferable. And obviously Jim wants to take this into his own hands. I guess I'm just moving the plot along. I guess
right. Well, the Costner and De Niro one's interesting, but yes, they take everything into their own hands. You are not wrong in that.
Right. And I just wrote,
this is fun. Keep going.
Neighbor Henry gives good ick.
Oh,
Neighbor
yeah.
Henry. Which one is Neighbor Henry? Remind me.
Well, I think she drank champagne with Neighbor Henry. And
right.
He doesn't like him. And you see him taking the trash out when they're talking in the kitchen. But moreover, it's the same scene as the shit turds.
Yeah.
Where he thinks they're having sex and he gives him like a British. I don't remember if he actually has a British accent, but
sounds familiar. Yeah.
I forget what the rhyme was, but he's Tracy Morgan's talking, and then the guy in the fantasy is like lip syncing.
Yeah.
Like, come over, drink some wine. I could dicky do you from behind.
Right.
And then he starts pantomiming like this, like horrible, and then she's all like,
yeah.
Like, and then for no reason he has a monocle. Like, yeah,
right.
That guy has a great. That guy's a great, like, silent film actor. I'm gonna. You want to come over to? Yeah, no, he showed up for the day and gave you the icks.
Yeah, last minute, he's gonna grab Lily and Gishentire to the train tracks. Yeah, 100%. I do have Paul's post sand push face, and I put hearts. What am I talking about? Sand push.
I
gotta get better at taking notes.
This is deciphering your fucking. Because the only push that I remember, and it's also this is another moment. This is one of the Bruce Willis moments that I wanted more from him is when they're gonna go into the lawyer's house, Fred Armisen, who the kid sold the car to, and they're trying to figure out like who's gonna be like the cop and who's gonna be the guy who breaks in, and then Bruce Willis is like, I know it's gonna be me, and he's like, how? And then Bruce Willis just shoves Tracy Morgan into a bush and then runs away.
Okay.
And for 5 seconds in the movie, Bruce Willis kind of meets Tracy Morgan on his level, and I feel like they're like two little boys.
Yeah.
They're two teenage boys fucking around. And I wanted so much more of that Bruce Willis. The Bruce Willis that shoves Tracy Morgan into a bush so he can jump in first. But I don't know about sand push, but I remember bush push.
Bush push. Okay, maybe that's what I meant.
Which means something else to us straights, by the way, is
bush push. I can't imagine why, but okay. Anyway, but thank you for helping me decode my notes.
Yeah, sand push. I don't know.
What do you think about this one? Oh, I think I know what this is. You're gonna smoke someone, Mom? You're effing A right, I am. That's when they break into her, or they break into her place to like steal some stuff, and she ends up being tougher than they are, the mom and her kid.
Yeah,
she comes home and finds them in her place.
Well, because Dave, the shit bandit, is in the house, so they're gonna go in the house, and she gets there right when they do, and they're like, "Go across the street, lady." And eventually, she doesn't go across it. She does, and then she comes in, and yes, Susie Essman. That's the fun thing about this movie is the people who show up. We get that's to me, it's hard to call them like big cameos, but like they all show up. Like Susie Essman shows up, and Fred Armisen, like all these, the little boy who's stealing the car, all these like one scene people, all tend to steal the scene they're in. Susie Essman's fucking great when they're speaking in the PG code in front of the kid.
Yes. I also just wrote, Jimmy fell down the stairs. Mom is obviously better suited to a line of defense. Yeah, no, I got
I think Dave's like, did you just fall down the stairs?
Yeah.
Oh, and when he's got Tracy Morgan and he's got his arm on him and he's like, yo, he rubbing my titty. And he's like, sorry, he's just nervous.
Okay, I don't know what the hell this is. I wrote CCD DP.
Oh.
Stop repeating me. Why did I write that?
Well, Dave is trying to get under Paul's skin. He accuses him of because he's saying that my wife isn't answering the call, and Jimmy's like, it's fucking 6 a.m. He's like, or maybe she's at home with that CCD, the cock craving disease, where they just keep craving cock. She might be having a DP right now. And then Bruce Willis is just like, double penetration. Another great Bruce Willis moment.
And then it goes into stop repeating me. I remember that.
And then
the whole bit. Okay, that's what I was writing that for. Thank you for reminding me.
For some people, that's the best scene in the movies. Stop repeating me. Stop repeating me, Jimmy. And he's just
yeah, it's cute. It's adorable. That was what I think I remembered most fondly out of this movie. A lot of other stuff I liked, but that was the thing I was just kind of like that stayed after that initial
when
screening.
You first saw this. Yeah, that's all your happy things were about the Sean William Scott and the car stuff.
Yeah,
and also I love. Okay, so I love when Bruce Willis, whenever he's in something, can kind of just like either him or the character can break and just have a smile. Like I fucking love in The Fifth Element, when that fucking guy's got the hat that looks like his hallway, and then he's like trying to rob him, but he's doing the gun wrong, and Bruce Willis has the gun on him anyway. He takes his gun away, and then he just goes, "It's a nice hat."
Yeah.
And I get that same vibe because the scene ends with a knock jock joke, and that's where we get the Tracy Morgan gif of no, and then orange, aren't you glad? Like, aren't you glad I don't have my cock in your wife's ass or something like that? And right at the end of the scene, Bruce Willis just laughs. Like Jimmy acknowledges that this shit is funny and that he's getting under Paul's skin. And like more of that guy who laughed at the end of that scene, that guy who pushed Jimmy or Paul into a bush. Like I need that guy.
100%. That's the charm that kind of like put Bruce Willis on the map. Like that's why Anyone who's attracted to a man was attracted to him when he was doing moonlighting, and that's why every man who ever aspired to save the day, like watches Die Hard at
Hmm.
least once a year come Christmas. And also why I but he was also, this is the thing that kind of kills me about Bruce Willis, because one of my favorite performances of his is from another girly movie, Death Becomes Her.
Because her. Thank you.
Yeah, Ernest Menville, because the man fucking disappears. Like the little hairpiece and little
No,
glasses, but he's so meek and he's so soft spoken, and he's never winking at the camera like, I'm a tough guy, right? He plays it so legitimately and so just like is noticed when it's definitely his time. He is absolutely in the trenches with his two co-stars, well, three, because he has a scene with Isabella Rossellini too, and
yeah.
he's just, again, present and spontaneous. Doesn't feel like he's speaking dialogue, interacting and allowing himself to be emasculated by these women scene after scene, to the point where we get to the end of that movie and we find out that he died, but he died happy and he lived well, and life started at 50 for him because he didn't take the fucking potion, and now he's living and resting in peace, and you're just kind of like, good. Oh, that guy deserved a break. Nice. He made the right choice,
I'm so
And
glad you brought this movie up.
thank you. Well, I always
Well,
do.
no, because no, for me, my thing was specific to me was that I never saw Moonlighting when I was younger.
Oh.
I was already aware of Bruce Willis, the action star, which I didn't know at the time was a turning point for him. So to
Mhm.
me, he's the guy from Die Hard and from Die Hard 2, and I think Hudson Hawk had already happened.
Mm.
So when he was in Death Becomes Her, I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I didn't know he had other modes.
Yeah.
I was and I'm a child when Death Becomes Her came out, and I was like,
Yeah.
what? That
Yeah.
is amazing.
Yeah. He was.
Yeah.
And at the same time, like, again, in a way that I absolutely acknowledge and can acknowledge while I'm watching the movie, but it never takes me out. I'm never kind of going like, wow, Bruce Willis is doing a great job playing a nobody. It's like, no, I'm just
No,
like,
he's just in it.
wow. Yeah, I just connect with him. And then after it's all over, I'm just like, oh yeah, he was really good in
And
that.
genuinely funny in his own right, in a way that
Yes.
that isn't comedic the way he's funny in other things. Like it's very it's its own
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's also
Like it's not jokey, it's performance.
no, yeah, I was just gonna say it's not like a
It's
buffoon. He's
reactive and yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah, and interactive. Like it's
yeah.
always playing from the reality, which is hard with comedy. So many people, again, want to go for the over the top thing, or want to, like, play it so flat that that it doesn't even register that they're doing comedy. They're just kind of like working through the scene the way they would if it were a drama. And you need a little extra, you need a little bit of a people pleaser, or at least a little bit of
Hmm.
rage in you, if you're going to be funny. And he managed to
Yeah.
navigate that really, really well. So maybe that's another reason why seeing he could still do it, he could still deliver in particular moments in this movie, just kind of made me sad to know the history the way I do of behind the scenes, but also to know, to even just behold every now and then in a scene, just kind of going like, oh, come on, buddy, come on. Come on. What are they
Yeah.
paying you? Like, and it shouldn't even be about that. But, if you're going to do it, you're there. You may as well have a good time. You may as well invest. You may as well contribute, something. And sometimes he did. And I'm happy that we got
Yeah.
at least that. So that
And
makes
even
me.
I just think it's some not telling. I know what I'm trying to get at here, but for how funny Tracy Morgan and Sean William Scott are in that scene, the
Yeah.
fact that I still managed to laugh at Bruce at the end
Yeah.
says
Yeah.
something. Although,
Yeah.
like you were writing down things, I just love that they're doing the stop copying me, and right when it escalates, he just goes duck season, and he immediately goes rabbit season, Jimmy. Like,
Yeah.
duck season, rabbit season, like it's so good, so good.
There was something I wrote. I just wrote Jimmy French when the guy speaks Spanish. And I didn't put a ha or a heart, so I don't think I liked that.
Oh, okay.
Somebody spoke
Jimmy.
Spanish to Jimmy at some point, and he started speaking French, I suppose. And I
Okay.
just thought, oh, really?
Yeah, that might be either the girl that they save or when they go to the restaurant to have that guy there translate for them. I don't
Yeah. And then I
know.
just wrote Paul's line, I have to feed this.
I wrote
I
that down
have to.
too.
Okay, why did I
Because
write it
that
down?
because I think that's for my money the funniest single moment in the movie.
What what happened? I forgot.
They're staking out to find. I saw this movie twice, like a month and a half ago, and
Yeah,
I thought I wasn't gonna remember shit, and I'm remembering everything for
good.
you.
I know. Thank you.
They're waiting to find the car thief, which we later find out is like an 11-year-old kid.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Did you know that the bonobos are the only monkeys or the only primates on the planet that have sex for fun?" And he's like, why do you know this kind of shit? And he goes, "I have to feed this.
That's
I have to
right.
I have to feed this, Jimmy." I saw this in theaters with my buddy Scotty, and we fucking died. When the movie was over, we'll just be like, "I have to feed this."
Yeah, right. And then I just wrote, Paul is clearly, oh, poor moaning kitty. She's been without me for a few hours. That's why she's so complaining. Anyway, you'll get over it. Papa's right here. Oh dear, worst life ever. She's fine. She's very well provided for. She's been fed and everything. Um, Paul, I have to feed this. I have to feed this. Okay, Paul is clearly the Randall, the Brody, and the Banky. He's the one who would kick a kid back, is what I wrote.
Yeah.
So,
Do you remember that? Because the kid kicks him in the nuts, and then when he's on the
right.
ground, he punches the kid back right in the dick.
Right. And then I'm
That
11
is
and I
very
got a better.
Brody
Yeah, 100%.
and Banky. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. I'm 11 and I got a better phone than you, broke ass bitch. Gold. Who is this kid?
That kid is charisma. Every line he has is amazing.
Yeah, I just wrote, he reminds me of the things that make my family laugh, like my extended family when we get together and just like it's, we got a movie on and we all just kind of sit around. Maybe it's a barbecue, maybe it's a holiday, whatever. And we all inevitably end up around the screen watching a movie together. And this is the kind of moment that would have the entire room howling. Who is that kid? I didn't look it up. Do you know his name?
I don't
Okay,
know his name,
I'm
but
looking it up. You say stuff.
every line delivery is gold.
It is.
Even the ones that don't end with bitch.
Yeah. No, he was
Especially when they
amazing.
threaten, like, because he's all bravado, and then they're like, "Hey, if you don't do this, we're gonna tell your mom." My mom, she's gonna beat my ass. Like, he's so like, on paper, some of those lines aren't even that great, but he sells the shit out of them.
Is he Kevin? No, that's the son who's like, "Are you gonna smoke someone, mom?" I'm still scrolling. Okay, if I don't find his name like in the next, then it's just not
Few
gonna happen.
seconds.
What was his name?
I
Do you
don't
remember?
know.
Kid?
I don't fucking know.
Tommy? I don't.
Maybe
Okay.
that sounds right.
Okay, Tommy was played by Marcus I. Morton. So maybe it's him. I don't know. Known for Cop Out, Law and Order Special Victims Unit. Oh, it couldn't be because he would have been in Special Victims Unit in 1999. And How to Make It in America, 2010. I don't know. Sorry, kid. I should have learned your name. He's not watching. Anyway, go ahead.
But his delivery is fucking outstanding.
His delivery is the memorable thing, and I'll go back and look him up and see if I can find him in anything else because again, the commitment. It was right there. I was just like, good for you, kid. I was laughing my ass off. And then we get Fred Armisen, and I just wrote, this made me laugh. No car, no car. You have my wife. And I thought, oh, what a shit.
But and again, I'm positive this is not in the script. Maybe it might have been, but not the way he delivers it. Where if Jimmy is pretending to be the crazy guy, and Tracy Morgan or Paul is like, "Well, then here, let me go in place of you, so I could basically take your car." But like, I love when what I can only describe as like a white person voice. He's like, "Hey, man, take me, man, take me." And, nothing about that should be funny, and it fucking kills me.
Yeah.
It's all just performance.
Yeah, 100%.
This movie to me excels when it's just becomes a Tracy Morgan vehicle for a minute.
And at this point, I think that for me, sorry, I wrote a note.
Okay, we're still decoding all this.
Yeah, it was around this time I said it's not quite gelling for me, and then I just wrote Gabriella beyond the half point a bit, and I feel like I'm waiting for the train or a bus. But then I did wrote Gabarola, and I put a ha ha.
Gabarola, haha.
Someone must have called her Gabarola. It could have been either Jimmy or Paul at this juncture. I don't know.
Oh yeah. I
Apparently, it made
mean,
me laugh.
I think she was in Nacho Libre, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so too, but I'll double check.
Um,
What did you think about her little wing of the story there?
I first of all, I love her reveal just because for like 30 seconds it does the Michael Bay cop thing where they get out of the car and they're on a rooftop and the camera's swirling around them. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, Kevin Smith's doing the cop movie thing. And I almost wish, what if the movie leaned more into the visual aesthetics? But I mean, Hot Fuzz pretty much did that movie already. So like,
Hmm.
whatever. But
Yeah, Sister Encarnacion. Yeah, she was in Nacho Libre. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, she does good for what they ask of her. Especially
Yeah.
especially playing the language barrier where she's trying to tell him like I'm gonna take a shower.
Yes.
Oh, you're gonna take a shower, like
Yeah.
But I mean, at the end of the day, the note is I I have a hard time believing, even if you come from a Spanish speaking country, that all you could manage to do is say hi between the
Yeah.
two of you. Between the two of you, you know, it's kind of funny, but like I have a hard time believing it.
Yeah. Ana de la Ana de la Reguera is her name.
But she's
I
always she's always Encarnacion to
yes.
me.
I just wrote I kind of hope everyone could be as cool as Gabriella when is it Jamie or Jaime? Is it
Both. She
Jamie?
calls him Jaime.
Okay, Jaime. When Jaime gives his speech. All right, because Jimmy. When Jaime gives
Paul and Jaime.
when Jaime gives his speech in the driver's seat, just that's what I liked about her. Just patiently listening to the tone of
Yeah.
whoever's sharing in a language we don't speak, just letting them go on. That I liked. That was a moment where I was just kind of like, oh, this is pretty cool. I wish I knew a little bit more about her, but it did give me something that I don't necessarily associate with, as an action movie trope. It was just kind of like I mean, last time I saw Bruce Willis in a vehicle with a Latino woman was probably Pulp Fiction, and I think I prefer this exchange to that one
Oh
because
yeah.
tell me how it feels to kill him, man. That's all I can.
There might be a reason that scene was deleted because you're talking about a deleted scene. Yeah.
Booch. Wasn't it a little in the movie, or was
Was
it
it?
completely? I feel like it was because I remember watching it, not the special features, but
Oh
the movie
yeah.
with
But
Bonnie
the,
and
but there's a long
Bessie.
okay,
Yeah.
so there's a longer scene of it then.
Yeah, there's a longer version of it where she's really asking over and over again.
Yeah.
You were telling me how it felt to kill a man. I like this
Oh,
better than that.
random rant. My brain just ran, but I think after the shit turds and the Warriors come out to play, I
Yeah,
do think he might have pushed Jimmy might have pushed Paul
yeah,
because they're on the sand at the beach watching.
right.
I think he might have shoved him.
Oh, okay,
So I think it might
okay.
have been, I just realized now I'm like, I think there's a sand push because he pushes him. I
And
could
there's
be
a
wrong.
and there was a face, Paul's face, whatever his reaction was to that, it warranted hearts from me. So there you go.
Okay. Um, there's a lot there's quite a bit towards the end that gets hearts from me where they need someone to break into Po Boy's house. So
Yeah,
they bust out, was it Dave? I just call him the shit bandit, but
I
Sean
have
William's guy.
Dave and Darnell.
First of all, Dave's doing the quit copying me bit again in the jail cell. All that
Yes.
with that dude who's like, motherfucker, I love to knit. See, that's crazy. Oh, I'll knit a fucking sweater or some bullshit like
Yes, I wrote that. I liked that.
that whole scene. Just so I love no matter where he goes, he's got his shtick. He goes through life fucking with people and doing the quit copying me, and I love it. But they're in the car,
Yeah.
and based on the last scene where he's antagonizing Paul about his wife
Hmm.
having a DP. At this point, they've already seen the videotape. So he's
Yeah.
making jokes again. He's like, "Hey man, that's not cool. His wife really was cheating on him." And immediately he like lets down everything. It's like that scene you like in fucking the three billboards outside of whatever the fuck.
Oh God. Yes,
Where
outside Ebbing, Missouri.
yeah,
Okay.
where Frances McDormand and Woody Harrelson hate each other, but then the second like he starts having like a bloody,
Oh
cancer
yeah,
bloody
yeah,
nose,
yeah.
they like drop all pretense and like she's like, "Are you okay?" and all that
Sure,
shit.
yeah.
I
Because
love that.
something
Like,
real's happening. Yeah.
yeah, it's like, no, his wife's really cheating on him. What? No, no,
Yeah.
no.
Yes. I wrote Dave's disappointment when he finds out Deborah really is cheating on
Oh, I
Paul. And I
love
was
it.
like, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then I have to believe that this is improv or Kevin Smith told him to do it. But I love that he fucking leans forward. He's like, hey, listen to me. Don't you give up on love. Don't you give up on love, okay? And I love, and Tracy Morgan, like, you could tell he picks up on it. It's so fucking good. He goes, I almost did. I almost did. You got a lot of love. He's like, I got a lot of love in me.
Yes.
He's like, the two of them are so fucking good. And I swear,
know.
if after we're done, go back and watch it if you can. I don't know if you paid to rent it or stream it. I'm pretty sure you don't own it.
No.
I fucking own it. It's right there.
All
But
right. I come over and watch it at your place.
when he says like, when the first moment he goes like, "Don't give up on love," and he's like, I almost gave up, and it's all funny. But Tracy Morgan has like a little twinkle, a little sparkle in his eye.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, I actually believe that you still have love in your heart to give. Like,
100%.
The reason it's so funny is because I actually believe your performance. It's all silly, but it's coming from a very pure place.
Right.
And it's fucking great. And so I love watching that relationship turn around. So much so that they're not only do they now have a new little bond, but Jimmy like tries to shut them down. And I love this is where I knew I wanted to movie the two of them, is now they're a duo. And he goes up to Tracy Morgan and he whispers in his ear, and Tracy's like, ah, and he's like, and he's like jabbing him in the shoulder, and then he whispers some more, and he's just saying like, Jimmy's got a little wiener,
Yeah.
Give me a whole movie of
I know, because it got to him. I liked that.
So much so that I also love, there was a period in the around this time where the bromance comedy is really big, and we're leaning into, men not acting so alpha, but allowing themselves to like have little quote unquote romances.
Yeah.
I love that that's almost instantaneous, because the next scene is he's going to parkour into Po Boy's house, and the scene where he at the time we think dies. And I rewind it. I've watched this like 5 times. Every time I watch it, I rewind it every time. He's in the tree and he goes, "Hey, Paul," and then he just falls off the tree.
Yeah.
And he smacks his head on the cement. I love that in the middle of parkouring, he just needs to take a moment to look at his new friend and go, "Hey, Paul, like, look at me. I'm in a tree. Look at what I'm doing. Look at me, Ma. Watch me dive. Watch me dive, Mom. Are you watching?" And it's so built out of a crush. It's like, "Hey, new friend." It's just in 2 words. It's, "Hey, Paul," and I get so much delivery, or I get so much performance out of that delivery. I get so much man crush, so much like my new bonded buddy. And the fact that he stops in the middle of this just to reach out to him, it's so dumb, it's so funny. And then on top of all that, they have this close-up of his head hitting the cement, and the Foley of like the thud kills me. It's very mean of me, but I love hearing the and they're like, "No!" And between all those cuts, I'm just dying. The sound effect, him whacking his head, "Hey, Paul," it's all great.
And see, this is where it's working for you and it ceases to work for me. I literally wrote down absolutely no stakes after Dave falls off the 2nd story of the house. And then I just put in quotes, "Ta-da!" Does he say ta-da? I don't even know.
Oh, yeah. No, they still need to get into the window, and Bruce Willis manages in his old age to get up there into the window, and he's like, "Ta-da!"
Okay.
Yeah, because they thought they needed a parkour expert, and it turns out he managed to do it.
Turns out he could have just crawled up there. Then I wrote gay cousin Eric, played by Jordan Carlos, who I remembered from back in the day. I didn't watch it. I wouldn't have watched it if I weren't at work, but on break, they used to have those MTV marathons of like Girl Code and Guy Code. Do you ever see that show? Those shows?
I remember those titles, but I don't remember.
And he was one of the people who would be on it. It's just like a bunch, like them trying to kind of like demystify things like dating and sex and puberty and stuff like that for younger people, but you can also watch it as an older person. And it was a good break room stuff because there wasn't any like cursing or anything like that. Like they walked the line and they spoke in euphemisms and stuff. And he was one of the people who was always on, Jordan Carlos, the one who played the gay cousin. And then I wrote, but then Gabriella gets dragged into a house while Paul calls Jimmy during their sting. Oh, that was another thing that, see, I was just kind of like, okay, no, you're just, feels like we're just trying to be funny because, like, if you're a cop, I don't care how bad you are you literally going to call your friend while they're like behind enemy lines, as it were, like trying to remain incognito, and you're going to give them a call? I don't even remember what he was calling him for.
No, it was
For
like
something pointless, and it was
no, but it
supposed to
was
be
part
funny,
of
and
a
it didn't make
plan.
it.
Like, I'm gonna go here and do this, and since we no longer have visuals on each other,
Uh-huh.
you're gonna call and do the thing, and that means it's time to go do this. And I can't remember if it was like set something off, but it was when you get the call, this has to happen now.
Right, but didn't he fuck it up?
I don't remember.
I feel like he fucked it
I,
up, and
I
that's
don't
what I got
I
angry
don't
about.
remember.
I asked in all caps, "Where is the mission?" Used to be about fighting for something, men. What are we fighting for? We're throwing the wrench in our own works, in the gears of our own machines. You okay?
I heard a noise, and I've been watching a lot of horror movies lately, and I'm like, what the
Oh,
fuck is behind the
oh,
door?
it's the ghost.
Okay.
Nothing's happened yet, then
Yeah,
you're
it's
okay.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also just wrote, also, wouldn't Jimmy and Paul, in addition to pursuing a case while suspended, get in trouble for endangering Costner and De Niro by allowing them to walk into a dangerous situation without a heads up? Oh, because then they start sauntering down like they're doing their own sting, and
Right.
it's like, isn't it a huge like conflict of interest, or just
It
I don't know,
is.
legal red flags, whatever it
Yes.
is, that like here you're operating your sting and you're right in the middle. They don't know that you're operating when you shouldn't be, and then they move right into it. And one of them gets, does one of them get shot? What
Yes.
happens? Yeah,
Kevin
one
Pollak
of them
then
gets.
gets
So like, look at and I'm just like,
and
how are they going to end up the heroes after this? Because I knew they
and then you
would.
find out, and they do, because you find
Uh,
out that, and now I realize why you're calling them De Niro and Costner.
yeah.
Because the chief is about, and they're like, look, we're sorry, chief. He's like, no, De Niro and Costner filled us in about how you wouldn't let it go, and you followed the leads, and you know what? Great police work. You're back. You're getting a commendation from the whoever. Like, it is the perfect happy ending. Like, they put in a good word and make them sound great.
Terrible. It's terrible.
Because even though it seems like they might be enemies, like at the end of the day, they're all cops and they got each other. They're really not that bad after all, or whatever, you know. But yes, they were. That's the whole thing. Is their side stories? They're following the leads, which eventually they even have. Like, actually, I like the way, because I don't know, like the sandwich is called a po' boy.
Yeah.
But Adam Brody says it's so white. He's where they're eating. He's like, maybe we should follow up with this po' boy,
Uh-huh.
and that's when they decide to go to the house. They're just following a lead, man, and that's why I like in the middle of this shootout. They're like, "What the fuck did we just walk into?" Like they say to Bruce Willis, and like I'm like, that's the right response. You didn't know you're on the case, and you're here, and there's a shootout. Like, what the fuck are you two idiots doing? What did you make happen?
I don't like it. Uh,
Oh, we haven't talked about po' boy at all, but
no.
I love when they're talking, and then I think the first time they're trying to get the baseball card, and
Mm.
then like, and he goes whew, or whatever, and like 15 goons all come out, and he's like, "You like that? We had to rehearse that like all day. We were like, we
Yeah.
rehearsed that for like half an hour." And I love, because that happens in movies a lot, even going back to
Yeah.
like Batman villains and the goons showing up. But I like to acknowledge that we rehearsed that. I'm like, that's cool.
If it had happened like in Batman 66, I might have laughed, but
Yeah,
this is supposed to be like New York, and like just two silly cops, and I don't know. I don't know.
yeah.
I started to check out.
Okay. I find Guillermo Diaz fascinating in this movie,
Hmm.
because it's a very, he has been so funny in so many things.
Hmm.
And also, like, I love him in Party Girl.
Hmm.
So I know he could play it straight. I know he could play it for laughs. And this is this really almost weird performance where like he's being serious, like he and his people will kill you, but he's also saying a lot of funny stuff, but it's almost like it's funny to him. Like he's only trying to amuse himself. And if
Mhm.
or if he's trying to be funny to you, it's ultimately because like you're in danger, but it's comedic, but it's not totally comedic, but it's not totally serious. And some of his delivery is really threatening, and some of it is really funny. And right
Yeah.
when you laugh, you realize, oh, I shouldn't be laughing because it's actually a threat. It's a fascinating performance,
Hmm.
and I'd be curious to see it in a movie that leaned in one direction more or the other. If he would have
Mm.
pivoted into one more or the other, um,
Yeah, I
but
think I might
I
have
could
made
I could
use of
love
that.
I could love listening to him talk because I love his delivery.
Okay. I didn't get as profound an experience watching him as I did. And I don't think it was in any way due to any sin on his part. I think it was more just my overall just kind of like slowly just kind of like, yeah, I don't know if there's much left here for me.
Okay.
I'll wait and I'll
Oh,
see if there is, but what?
another little thing that I like. I
Yes.
did just it just clicked into me right now. I realized like what they were doing, but like I like that as a villain, his house is like baseball themed, and at one point he's got the one guy that disappointed him, and he's hitting them with the baseballs, like they're
Mhm.
the pitching machine is shooting the
Oh
balls at
yeah.
him.
Yeah.
There's always a scene in the movie where like the bad guy has been let down by one of his goons and he's being like tortured, or he's gonna
Yeah.
get pushed off a cliff, or
Right.
like drowned by a boat. And I like
Sure.
that in this one. They're like, no, he's got a shtick. He baseball practices. He hits him with base. Like I just like that he has a whole shtick with the decor of his house and wanting the Pifco card. I think that's the player's name. So like I just like that his the disappointment goon who gets killed is in this case part of a gimmick. I don't know. There's
Guess I
just
just
little
don't
things.
speak the language. Yeah.
I guess you don't. I don't know what to tell you. I
You
don't
haven't
know.
been so disappointed in me since you heard my real opinions about the majority of the Bond franchise.
I mean, no, ha ha, but disappoint. Well, actually, no, actually, disappointment is the right word because you like some truly terrible Bond movies,
I like it
and
when they
you
put it on Front Street.
and you vehemently disliked some of my favorites.
I
So,
know, I know. Yeah. I'm again like kind of like you were talking about like with Diaz's performance. Like maybe it would have resonated with me a little bit more if it would have been like gone full on with the imposing or full on with just like the slapstick. I don't, but I felt like it walked the line and I was just kind of like, could we, I don't know what this is and I don't know if anybody does. And it just kind of bothered me. But I did write, Jimmy said a line, do you even listen to yourself sometimes?
mhm.
And this is after everything with Costner and De Niro walking into a dangerous situation. So I don't know if I'm assuming he's talking to Powell. I don't know. But he says, do you even listen to yourself sometimes? And I just wrote, a moment like this only works when you as the audience identify with the speaker. When a character can voice the unexpressed thoughts of the movie watcher, not show the audience how funny you think you are. Wow, I really didn't like that line.
Wow. Because there
Whatever
is a
that.
lot of random stuff that Po' Boy like kind of monologues and does bravado about. So,
Oh, okay. So maybe since you even listen to yourself sometimes, I'll just be like, yeah, I don't know. Whatever it was, I think it was an exasperation with just kind of like, I want to be, I want you to be my avatar. You know, I want to move through
mhm.
this just kind of like either as you or your buddy or the third person in the car, like Sean, I want to be Sean William Scott. And I didn't at a particular point, like well into the third act, here we are. I just started to feel like I was outside going, I'm gonna clean your windows, and I'm not happy about it. Uh, but I did write down De Niro saying those boots fit you well with a happy face, so I did like that.
Mhm.
And then I wrote muy safo, and I put shaking my SMH and LOL, so shaking my head and laughing out loud. So I did laugh at that, muy
Yeah,
safo.
the really bad attempts at trying to speak Spanish are pretty funny in this.
And then Tracy Morgan is mock crying, and I don't know how to feel at the end, I guess. And then I wrote same thing with Pam asking Jimmy to let Roy also give Ava
Yeah.
away. And then I just started to write a note. I just wrote as T, I think I was going to write the. And I just wrote an ellipses, 3 dots, and I just said, I don't know. And that was my last note. I think I gave up. So
As you clearly, yeah,
it's in your hands now.
Eddie. That's like a metaphor for the experience of the movie with you. I just gave up.
I tried.
I mean, my only, so at the end, Jason Lee is gonna,
Yeah.
and then Paul puts a gun in his back and he sits down. He's like, you know what, Jimmy should give her away. And then Jimmy kind of looks over and Paul shoots him a little smile, and it's like, oh, bros. And it's like, I wish I got more of a connection with them so that ending really landed, where I'm like, yeah, you two guys, 9 years, fucking bros. And it's,
Yeah. And also, I don't know, something about like tonally, like it didn't quite nail it tonally for me, because all I could think was about the reality, again, the harsh reality of just kind of like, oh my God, this is your daughter's wedding. And your friend's gonna put a gun in a man's back,
yes,
just so you can walk her down the
right.
This is so immature. And
Again,
I couldn't
and
get on board with it.
Cop comedy, but in real life, what the fuck?
Yeah. Just there were moments that did land for me. That one just wasn't one of them. I did have an all caps question a little earlier for you, though. I think it alludes to Jimmy, because I just wrote, would you lie, lie like Jimmy did about Deborah? Because didn't Jimmy at first lie when he saw the footage? Because he saw it first, right?
Oh, yeah.
He started to see the direction it was going, and then he started to lie to Paul about it, and then Paul watched it for himself, and then he found out the truth.
Yeah.
Right?
No, so
what would you have done in that situation? I think.
Yeah, because Jimmy sees the guy that you were talking about. Like, So he finds out that she was cheating.
Right.
And then Paul sees it. Yeah. So both of them, they hadn't watched far enough to see.
Yeah.
That's her gay cousin.
Yeah. Right.
Would I? I mean, I feel like I really had to think about it, but like right now, my knee-jerk response would be like, no, I'd fucking, like, if this is eating you up that much, enough that you, like, part of me wonders, is it my place to? And it's like, well, if it's 9 years of friendship and you're that close, it could be, but also it's not like I opened the door and was like, oh, that's your problem now. You put the camera in there.
Exactly.
This is your question. Yes. You wanted to know. And you're asking me to watch it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if there is truth on the tape, like, this is my opportunity now as a friend to have to break it to you.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think I'd lie about that in that scenario.
I think, do you think you would like kind of soft pedal it though? Like lead with you sure you want to hear the truth?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I double, triple check.
Just to set them all like, uh-oh, it must be bad. So they can brace themselves a little bit more, be a little bit more equipped. Not that you can ever be equipped to hear anything like that or to witness it.
And I have to think from the other point of view, like I guess I'd rather have the Band-Aid ripped off by my friend than, finding out in any other horrible way. Like,
he obviously did. Yeah.
Yeah.
He passed it over to him.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know why I had such curiosity about that, but I guess if I ever put a nanny cam Eddie, in my situation,
I'm just happy you have any kind of curiosity, considering like that's some sort of question, some form of investment, some form of interest. So it just makes me happy.
Yeah, well, there you go. I don't know if I have much else to say.
I don't have anything else. I just know that,
oh, this made me laugh. Peligro is Puerto Rican for penguin. That was a funny line. There, see, we ended on a laugh. There we go.
We ended on a laugh. And it did, I don't think it did the money that it needed to, but it is technically Kevin Smith's highest grossing film. So that is neat that, yeah. Okay. And Do you know the story about the title? Because that's always been a fun little anecdote for me.
No, go for
The script was always called A Couple of Dicks.
it. See,
It went into production as A Couple of Dicks.
that's perfect.
It went very far as A Couple of Dicks. And then Warner Brothers was like, you know what? We can't run ads for this movie before 10 p.m. if it's called A Couple of Dicks.
Mm-hmm.
So at one point, they're coming up with titles, and I forget who, someone involved with the production was like, something, a couple of cops. We should call it A Couple of Cops. Kevin's just like, A Couple of Cops? That sucks. That's such a cop out. And then Kevin Smith's like, cop out.
Yeah,
But to this day, every time I watch this movie, I'm like, man, A Couple of Dicks just works.
it does for this movie.
Yeah.
100%. It tells you it sells because cop out. Yeah, it's a play on words and everything, but it is so much more generic than A Couple of Dicks. Like that is specific. There is no other movie with a title like that. Whereas Cop Out, it sounds like it could be, any other kind of like I'm sure there is another action adventure movie, called Cop Out. But and if there isn't, how did it take this long? How did it take this long for us to get to a movie with that? I'm gonna look it up. I'm curious. But no, A Couple of Dicks, you know exactly what you're getting, and I feel like yeah.
Yeah. Before I just wanted to, I'm trying to remember when this came out.
2010?
2010?
Yeah.
Dang, okay.
That's what it said on IMDb.
So in 14 years, I've watched it 5 times. So like, now granted, I think in 14 years, I probably watched Clerks like 30 times,
Oh,
but
countless.
But I still, every time I put this on,
Yeah.
I laugh.
Hmm.
I don't laugh as hard as I laugh in Mallrats.
No.
But
Okay.
the big brown shark's gonna come. I break records with my shit turds. It gets me. Hey, Paul. It gets me.
Okay.
I laugh. I have a good time.
Okay.
And I don't demand much from this movie, and let me just add, just on a personal note, it has nothing to do with anything, but I love that when I had my 38th birthday party, my surprise birthday party, and you came as Mr. Tusk.
Yeah.
My buddies Scotty and Andy came as Jimmy and Paul.
Yeah.
And they had the little badges around their necks, and I saw Cop Out with Scotty, and I have to feed this, and I just love that there's a world that exists where when one has a Kevin Smith themed birthday party, I have friends that came as Jimmy and Paul, for fuck's sake. And isn't that nice?
That is very nice. It's all about the obscure Pauls. That's what you want.
Yeah.
You want to reach. You want to reach somebody who invested a little bit of like, well, don't just come as Silent Bob. Like come as, I mean, come as Silent Bob if that's what you want. But wouldn't you rather be the only person in your costume when you get there? Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, you were the only Mr. Tusk, so there you go.
Yeah, well, I was going to toot my own horn, but yeah, no, it's fine. Like I don't reject. I'm not sitting here militantly going like I reject this. This is not a Kevin Smith film. It's more like, well, the fact that it is the highest grossing actually just kind of like speaks a lot to me and my taste because oftentimes like the highest grossing album of an artist that I love is never my favorite. I'm usually like, really, that's the one? And then, I mean, the things that the masses decide to kind of like throw money at and everything like that, that's a whole other thing. That's fine. I would never wish that not exist for whatever artist I'm celebrating.
And if I'm not mistaken, I don't think it was, but like, I think this is where my brain and the trivia and my brain rot and all that. I think it made 33 million, but I think like Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back made about 30. There's a few movies, like I think there's a period where Kevin Smith was like, I tend to top out around 30 million. Right. So like it wasn't drastic. It was like, it's got 2 stars. It's getting a wide release by a studio, and it's not, Miramax putting Chasing Amy out in a smaller amount of theaters. So, But anyway, yeah. I'm looking forward to our next one because the next movie is Red State. And I fucks with Red State real hard, man.
Look at the expression on my face. And this is who feels bliss about Red State. Especially Right on the heels of Cop Out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Oh God.
we'll
Oh,
be
gee.
back for
Oh.
that.
Oh. Yeah. Okay. I'm ready.
Yeah, he's ready. I'm ready. Hopefully you're ready. So come back for that. Thank you for joining me, Eddie.
You're welcome.
Toodles.